All right, and so this is part two to Ezekiel 14 because I find it fascinating and the spirit hit me and I realized that in that reading the it was mentioned that there was three people from the Bible that the word repeatedly referred to. There was Job, there was Daniel, and there was Noah. And I got to wondering, the question was posed, why out of all the people in the Bible, the word repeatedly said that if I was to bring four judgments against the people of Israel, that I know that these three people, these three people will, without a doubt, come up out of that thing unharmed, unscathed, undamaged. And so when I dove in, I wanted to show the characteristics of those three people. The first one is Daniel. The story of Daniel was very fascinating to me because it goes to show prayer. And um, Daniel, right, who had worked for the crown for almost 40 years, and yet how he was hated for his righteousness. That's what that boils down to, even so far as to go so far as his haters went so far as to con and convince the king to sign a decree to outlaw praying. That the only fault that they could find for Daniel was the fact that his faith in God. And so they went on to I went on to discover that Daniel had a ritual that up to three times a day that Daniel made it a point to go pray to God, to spend time to God. And yet a fair man. And so they went on to say that the king that Daniel served upon them was King Darius, who was known to be a pagan, which means that he didn't believe in God. And so they went on to tell a story about Daniel that although even King Darius, the pagan, um, when he realized that he had been duped, when he had realized that they had caused him to sign a decree that he couldn't go against his own word because he was the king. But they said that when Daniel was thrown into the lion's den, even King Darius, the pagan, um, prayed to Daniel's God, and that he had a moment of clarity and a moment of realization that Daniel was the best and most loyal person that he had working for him, working up under him. And so as it went on, they said that when Daniel was thrown into the lion's den, they said that King Darius the pagan couldn't even sleep. He fasted. They used the word fasted. Couldn't couldn't even sleep, prayed. And that when that time was up, he went down there to check on his friend. And when he called out to Daniel, Daniel called back to him and said, I need you to know that I'm saved, that I'm unharmed, that the angels that my God sent was able to seal the mouths of the lions because there was no fault found on my behalf. And not only did not that my God didn't find fault, I need you to know that I also have never done anything wrong against your crown. And by this time, King Darius knew that and sent out the word that his God, that Daniel's God is a true and living God, is a real God and worthy to be praised, right? Ain't never been done before. The second one is gonna be Job. Job was a very interesting story too because I come to understand that although Job was a wealthy man, Job was a well-off man, and I discovered how they laid it down that and those times before that people thought or people had the understanding that when bad things happen to you that it had to have been something that you done wrong. And I'm going to fast forward with Job because it wasn't until the one friend that came to Job's bedside and said, you know what? I know that you are working overtime to let people know that you didn't do anything wrong, but what if the bad things that you are facing and you going through, right? What if it wasn't, if it's not what you done wrong, what if that thing is to make you stronger, is to build you and to strengthen you? And they went on to say that although Job questioned God, Job never doubted God. That's the story of Job. The final person was Noah. Noah built that ark. He was instructed to do it, and he worked diligently and warned the people that there was a storm coming, that he attempted to tell the people to prepare that there was going to be a great flood. There's a great flood coming. He was the a sounding the horns, telling people to get ready. But by that time, they had suffered so much drought that the people stopped believing, that the people stopped hoping, that the people stopped trusting in God, right? And stopped believing. How can it be if the only thing that we have to com- com- compare to what you saying is what is going on right now in this moment, and what's going on right now in this moment is that there's drought. We're living in a dry place. So what you talking about, Noah, makes no sense to us. See what I'm saying? Because it's not being done. And yet Noah still continued to build that ark. Noah still continued to do what God had put on his heart. This is part 2.